there are three important missions that are going to be announced later today. One is the Smart Cities Initiative that the Prime Minister is going to be announcing. More importantly, he's also going to be talking about the Housing for All initiative by 2022. And all of these is going to culminate into an announcement that's going to happen in the next 1 hour or so. We also are going to be talking to Renu Sood Karnad of HDFC, India's largest mortgage lender, to tell us how this might open up a large business opportunity for housing finance companies, and also to Cisco. Cisco has been involved with a lot of digital infrastructure initiatives in the Smart Cities program. They, for instance, partnered with the city of Jaipur to create the entire digital backbone. And details on that mission are going to be announced that as well. Okay, so let's move on now, and we'll come back to Diwan Housing in a moment. In fact, I do have Renu Sood Karnad of HDFC standing by on this one. Ma'am, many thanks for joining us today. There's been renewed focus on housing by the government. What do you think needs to be done? What's the much needed push that's needed from the government for this sector?
The state of housing that we are in today, with the shortage of housing, more so of course in the urban areas, and rural areas also need housing. I think the scope for housing is huge, and it is really a very, very welcome step that the government has taken, where they are making it a focus. Past governments have also talked about housing. Housing has always been a very important indicator for how the economy is doing. In fact, in the Western world, housing starts, which means how many new homes have been started to being built, how many homes are sold and bought, right? They are prime indicators of the health of the economy. And I think the fact that this government is now actually going to give it a focus bodes very well for, I think, the Indian populace, and of course for people like us who are in the business of giving loans to the middle income Indians for acquisition of homes. Urbanization in India is on the rise. If you look at innumerable studies, they've been talking about urban India to grow from currently at about 32% to as high as 40% in the next few years by 2030, and by 2050 we are talking about 50% of Indians living in urban areas. Now, if housing is not available, we are going to end up having more slums, more ghettos, and I think it is the right time and the most important initiative for Indians and for humankind to be able to live in conditions which are which are clean, sanitation is there, water is available, and only then I think the country goes forward.
Okay, so as the government is now trying to focus on rural urbanization, what's the business opportunity? Do you think this will widen the pool of the universe that's looking for housing loans? I understand a large chunk of your business caters to the 35 to 40-year-olds. Will this encourage early home buying?
Yes, absolutely. I think more and more younger people will start looking for homes. I think one of the problems why in India people still need to wait till they're 37, 38 is because they have to save that 25% of the cost that has to be put in as their own contribution, and it takes time to save that. Now, if we are able to get into the segment of affordable housing, which means that the ticket size of each house comes down, and to that extent, we are talking of a smaller 25%. My forecast will be that people will buy homes at even younger ages than what they are doing today, which is post 35, 37. And instead of paying rent, I think even today, if somebody had an option and he was able to get a house in that price, the problem today is that most of the homes that are coming up are homes which are at the higher end of the spectrum. So if homes were going to come up in the region of, when you say affordable housing, I would say anything 20 lakhs to 50 lakhs. You would see a lot of the youngsters who would tighten their belts, put in the 25%, take a loan from companies like us and acquire a house, and thereby save on rents that they are paying.
Sure. Ma'am, where do you see demand picking up in the housing and housing loan segment? Will this largely be in the tier 2, tier 3 cities?
Well, very honestly, the demand of the type that we are talking about is certainly not going to be in the central part of the larger cities. It has to be on the peripheries. It has to be, say, if you're looking at Delhi, it has to be in the Ghaziabads, in the Faridabads, in the Manesar areas. Similarly, in Mumbai, we are now talking about Thane, or even further off than Thane, and on the western side, we are talking about places which are like Palava, etc. Now, according to me, with good communications, and it is happening, Bombay fortunately does have the trains. Of course, they may be very crowded, but you do have the local trains. In Delhi, the metro is now coming in place.
So what can be the trigger to sort of spur demand? Will rate reduction be a game changer? Is there a need for sharp cuts in rates to spur demand?
You know what happens really, honestly, when you're talking of rates, it's more a psychological effect. Today, as far as housing is concerned, most people, I would say 95% of the people are taking variable rate home loans. So if the RBI were to cut an interest rate 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, they do get the benefit of that. But what happens is, the day you're applying for a loan, your eligibility of a loan is decided based on the rate that there is today. To that extent, what you have to put in from your share is a little higher. That is about the only difference that happens really. And as far as rates are concerned, with the rates that they are today, say at about a little less than 10, I would say a band of 9 to even 11 doesn't really change a person's decision on buying a house. It's really the sentiment of it. If in the market everybody is saying rates of interest are going to come down, builders are going to reduce property prices, so people play the wait and watch game.
We live with that, ma'am. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Renu Sood Karnad from HDFC, India's largest mortgage lender. Up next, Prime Minister Modi is on a mission to transform urban India.